Hello, this is Unit 2, Section 2, and we're going to start out with some vocabulary about activities. The first sign is home. Home comes from the sign for eat and the sign for bed, or kissing your mommy on the cheek, whichever helps you remember it better. Home, home. To read, you can read down the page this way, or you can read down the page sideways. So read or read. This is like your eyes moving down a page. Read or read. Party is two K or P hand shapes. Party. Bed. Bed. Walk, to walk. He's representing your feet. Kind of looks like a duck walking, but walk. Walk to. Shows the feet walking someplace. So the next example is, do you like to read? And he says, yes, I enjoy reading. Another example is, she is sitting. And he walks home. Also, they go to a party. At the end of the deaf culture section, there's another sign for deaf, which is a sign for ear or hearing, and then a sign for to be closed. So your ears or your hearing is closed. It's an older sign, and it is also still used in very formal situations. But in everyday conversation, the sign deaf is much more common. Next is vocabulary for the classroom. Paper. So I'm brushing paper back towards my elbow. I have a whole stack. I'm shuffling through them. Paper. To erase, you can erase a board. Similar to being directional, making it make sense. So erase a board and erase a paper. Commonly, I see this hand shape with either an S or an A. To erase. You can also use the X hand shape, which comes from the sign for rubber, and erase with the rubber hand shape. To hand out papers, you throw them out to everybody. Spread them out. Hand out papers. To pass out papers. To teach, I'm grabbing information in my head and I'm pushing it out towards you. To teach. I can then lower my hands. It doesn't have to be from my temples. To teach. The sign teacher adds the agent marker or the person, showing the shape of a person's body, the sides of them. So teacher. The sign for study, we have the sign for read, but study, your eyes wiggle over, and I use that forehand shape, wiggle my fingers for study. But student is the sign for learner. To learn, you grab information from the page and you put it in your head. Student. So to learn, and then the person, student. Next is ask a question. So you can ask a question with an X, or you can close it to an X and open it back up. Ask a question. Test. This is like the little questions all down a piece of paper. So test. Test. A sign that's sometimes used is the sign quiz, which is the eyes. It's a little test. It's a littler finger. Test with a little finger. Quiz. To write, you hold whatever you're writing with, you pinch it between your thumb and your index finger, and you scratch back and forth on the paper with it. So, write. To write. Write correct is like this. My right hand taps on top of my left. Right or correct. Wrong or incorrect. Wrong or incorrect. I tap on my chin. To correct, as in to grade something, you draw an X on your palm like you cancel. Also the sign for cancel. Cancel, correct, grade. criticize. To spot or to notice. Your eye points something out. So I spotted, I noticed. I can directionalize that towards what I'm noticing or spotting. Next is a brief explanation about sign variations. Just like we have more than one thing for things in English, the same is true in sign language. So I would encourage you to read over that section. But here's an example of a variation. So we just learned the sign for test. You can also sign it this way. Usually I see this as for like a regular like chapter test, but like a final exam, a big board examination, this big question mark sign with both hands. All right. The next is a quick accent step for non-manuals. So just like the head shake and the eyebrows must be clear and obvious for the meaning to be understood, so make sure that your facial expressions are big enough. Not everyone has a lot of facial expression, so it's a good idea to watch yourself sign a little bit and see, what does my face look like when I raise my eyebrows? Can I even see that? Is that visible? Do I need to do it more and overemphasize that? So, something to watch out for. Next is a quick mention of why aren't there some signs for words like truck? So it's not that deaf people are just lazy or can't think of a word or just haven't got around to it yet. Oftentimes, especially small words that are like 5 letters or less, are typically fingerspelled. That is the sign for it. So you don't have to create a sign. You can just fingerspell those words. There's reasons why certain words are spelled that way. A lot of times they've changed the movement to become more of a sign. But truck can be signed, although we did learn 2 different ways to sign truck before. And when you're reading fingerspelling, when you're watching somebody fingerspell to you, be careful with trying to say each letter. If we're spelling the word stand, instead of doing S-T-A-N, when you're reading it, think of what it would sound like. So S, think S, st, a, n. So as you sound out the word, just like you would when you're reading, it'll help you figure out the word quicker. All right, and last is the accent step, think visually. So if you were signing some numbers and they're in a column, a vertical column, you would start a little bit higher. Usually your finger spelling space is here, your number space is here. So you'd start a little higher and move a little lower to show that's what it looks like. It needs to match visually with what you're seeing. Same thing if you're reading off horizontal rows of numbers, you'll come over a little bit more towards the center of your body and spell a little bit further, so it becomes a bit of a longer box that you're working in to show, again, matching what it would look like visually. Another example is athletes' jerseys typically have numbers on them, so if you're talking about that for some reason, then sign the number on your chest. So if the person is number 7, sign the 7 on their chest to show that it's located on the chest. So an example of a vertical column would be like 11, 20, 15, 14, 15, 13. I just moved that down. And a horizontal one would be 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18. Moved it to the side a little bit. If for some reason, as our curriculum has, you were signing numbers in a shape for some reason, you could do that. Typically you start either at the top or the top left corner and you move clockwise around there. So you could have 15, 12, 17, 20, 13, 18 and move around that way. You could start at the bottom of a triangle and move around the top of a circle or a diamond shape. All those shapes, you would match what they look like. And that's all for this section. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.